morning. It's a beauty, as usual. Day 116. I mean, not me. the sunrise. That's what we're here for. Beautiful. Decided to start at just a slightly different point on the path. And wow. Sometimes it's nice to just get a little bit of a new perspective. Really pretty. So what do we have this morning? Proverbs 6 and the risks of being short-sighted. Now, in my version of the Bible, it was called Daily Life Lessons or something, which they are. But the trap that a lot of humans fall into is the temptation to be very short-sighted. What's my immediate payoff? If I do this immediate thing, we're just caught up in our day-to-day feelings, emotions. What can I benefit from today? We don't want to worry about tomorrow. But that's not a wise way to live. Proverbs is all about wisdom. Now, we don't want to be so future focused. It's all about balance, right? That we miss the present, which is a present, but we don't want to be so caught up in enjoying the present that we set ourselves up for destruction in the long run. And there are several examples in this short but powerful chapter. The first one is about being indebted to a friend. That's probably not a good place to be. It's tempting. And we always think, oh, we're friends. It'll all work out. It'll all be fine. No, you're at somebody else's mercy. And they advise getting out of that arrangement as soon as possible. I got to pause and look at this. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Look at that. Look at that. I wish I had the ability with no, this isn't FaceTime, Facebook lives to do that picture while I'm recording. Oh man, that's so beautiful. Steam coming off the water. Oh my goodness. Anywho, back to our lessons. And that basically you're at somebody else's mercy and you will be like a gazelle running from a hunter. It's the imagery that they brought in. And that the best thing to do if you've made that mistake is to quickly go to that person, humble yourself, beg for forgiveness, mercy, ask for the debt to be erased or how you can get out of it, to not be in that place. The second example was one I think we've all heard a lot of. Don't be the person that hits the snooze button, that sits down to rest too much when there's work to be done, because when winter rolls around, you're not going to have any food. You haven't, provided for yourself or your family. If you don't work hard while there is work to be done and food to be stored up during the harvest season, and then you will be the one that's without. Then there was an interesting little, this kind of made me chuckle. It said, okay, there's 6 things that God hates. Wait, no, 7 things. I'm like, that's interesting. That's the way I write. I don't go back and just say, oh, I meant 7 and correct it. I thought that was really interesting. And let's see if I can remember them, because they all had to do with our physical senses, like haughty eyes, a tongue that lies, heart that is deceitful, something, it went through some of our physical senses, feet that run towards evil, those that are then the 6th and 7th were, I know I focused on the 7th one because I thought, oh, he must have left that in there to make us really pay attention to the 7th one. Like, pay attention to all of them, but especially number 7, which is the person that sows discord in a family. Don't be that person. But we all have one, right? Like, we all, and maybe we all are that one. We often treat our families the worst because that's our safe place. Like, they'll put up with our shenanigans. They'll put up with our bad moods. They'll forgive our, right? So a lot of times we're kind of careless with our attitudes and our moods at home and with the people that we love the most. Which in and of itself, like, that's a good thing that you feel so comfortable and so safe with people. But don't abuse it. Don't abuse it, because in your hour of need, they're not going to be there. Or you just ruin it for everybody. Or that person that is doing that ruins it for everybody. And boy, coming from a family with a long history of alcoholism and codependency and all the things, man, I could just rattle off many examples, including me. Hopefully I'm learning how to not be that person anymore. I think I am. Working hard at it. And I might come back to that in a moment. And then it goes on to give a couple of examples, especially to the men, to not be tempted by women, immoral, promiscuous, married women. It's like holding a nice little fire in your lap and expecting your clothes not to get burnt. So all of these examples of just, like, these things happen a lot in life. It's tempting to do these things. But the words that came to me and the language I use is being short-sighted. And I will never forget when I was a teenager, back when they used to have driver's ed, like in the school, as part of the school system. I had a driver's ed teacher that, of course, we had to watch all the videos and whatnot, but he actually gave us this nugget that stuck with me and probably saved my life many times and other people's lives. But I think it's a really wise one that sums up this mindset in like a nutshell. And that is, drunk people, part of the reason they get in so many accidents and have so much trouble with what happens when, alcohol enters the brain. And this isn't just super drunk people. This is what happens even when you have a little bit. What starts to happen is the way your brain operates shifts. And for the adults listening to this, you've had a drink, you know what I'm talking about. And if you keep it to one, you're probably not going to feel the effects too much. But anything beyond that, and then the body is like scrambling to make chemicals to counteract what you're synthetically putting into its system, and then it just becomes a slide down in how the brain functions. But this is what drunk people do. They only look at what's in front of them. They forget about the long sight vision. And there's a lot of wisdom in that that comes out to the broader way of life. And the person that's even gets sucked into the alcohol trap or other coping strategy, habit, addiction traps of other things, it's the same thought process. We are so caught up in and I use that term we because I'm climbing my way out of this. This was very much me. I am so focused on just surviving the day that's left over from childhood trauma and just finding peace for the day, for the moment, that I'm just literally living one day at a time and not thinking about the future, as this chapter is so wisely advising. because, my brain just never kind of graduated from survive, state and looking in front. But when I think back to that teacher, I'm like, boy, isn't that like, that's what drunken-minded people do. And drunk is a state of mind. I'm telling you, you might not like to hear this, but even people that don't drink are still drunks. We call them dry drunks. That's if you don't do the work, whatever had you reaching for the bottle every day or the glass of wine or whatever, you don't have to be that functioning paper bag drunk that we think of, that AA has made us think of. Like, you could be just like me, a regular old mom having, her couple of glasses of wine at night after a long day, or dad, or person. And you can stop doing that, but if you don't do the work underneath to find out why you're reaching for whatever, you're just going to reach for something else. You're going to maybe become a sugar addict and just eat a lot of sweets. You're maybe going to overwatch TV. That impulse doesn't go away unless you figure out what's under it. And a short-sighted person, if they don't do the work to change their mindset and their eyesight in the way they see life and live life, they're going to stay like a dry drunk. They are going to completely just be in the moment. They're going to be like what this chapter is talking about. They're going to find themselves indebted to other people, at the mercy of other people, find themselves without provision. My middle name could have been procrastination. And the saying, why put off till tomorrow what you can do today? My mantra was the opposite. Why do today what you can put off till tomorrow? Like, I used to I convinced myself that was how I operated the best, under pressure. A lot of us procrastinators do that. And now I'm having to retrain myself as an adult. Oh, it's hard. But I was parented by people. Like, I don't give myself too hard of a time. I didn't know any better. But once you know better, you've got to do better. That's where real foolishness comes in. When you know better and you don't do better. Or I like to use the term knucklehead. I don't want to be a knucklehead. So trying to not be a knucklehead. But I've got 40 some years of practicing like the immediate gratification way of being short-sighted. So now, learning to look out so I can see any potential threats, accidents. And when you're a driver, I love this analogy, because as a driver, you have to do all the things. You have to keep that long-term vision. You have to look right in front of you, look in your mirrors, look in the rear view mirrors. Like, you have to be looking all around and have awareness all around. This is wisdom. So if we can take that analogy of being that driver, and a lot of us are good drivers, and we've also trained ourselves just to be on autopilot that way. Our brain loves autopilot. You can do this in the bigger scale of life, but for a time, if you're used to being the short-sighted person that's described in chapter 6, it's going to take a minute. You're not going to get it overnight just because you should or It takes practice, which takes time, experience, reward. And then our brain goes, oh, this is the better way. Oh, but it's you're kind of rowing against a stream, upstream or uphill, before you can get to that pinnacle and then be on the downhill of autopilot. And the older you are, the longer it takes, and the harder it is. But that doesn't mean it's worth it. And what I hear a lot, And I'll be talking to women in their 60s and 70s even, and they're like, I'm just too old. It's too late, too old. What's the point? Oh, just nothing breaks my heart more, because we need wise elders, not foolish knucklehead elders that continue. And man, can you imagine the power of somebody in their twilight years doing this hard work and changing how that could change a family? That it's powerful. And it's something that will last generations and beyond you. And who knows how many years you have on this planet? Many people live into their 90s and 100s now, especially if they make some healthy changes. And think how much, I just even look at the past year, how much, and this is not going to be to toot my own horn, but how much impact I've had in my own life, which then that has rippled out around me, and the other lives I've been able to impact in just a couple of years of doing this work. So if you happen to be watching this, I know God is having me say this, thanks Holy Spirit, it is not too late. And I understand why the word retirement is in our vernacular and in our mindset, because of the Great Depression and our society putting that security system, thinking ahead, like that was a wise thing. But man, people have taken that now and have this mindset of, okay, well, 65 now, it's time to sit down and just wait to die and maybe play some golf or some cards. And if that's you right now, and you might be like, well, go take a hike, Felicia. You might be saying that. Like, you don't know. I worked hard. I deserve. I earned. Okay, well, I will tell you that statistically, the amount of people that shift gears from a life of productivity and work and then they just go and sit on the couch, then they've got nothing better to do than to maybe start a new habit or addiction, because they've got so much time on the hands and they deserve to party. And then within a few years, they're like, OMG, and look up and go, what has happened? Sorry, God, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, yeah. So it's never too late to get out of an addiction or out of being short-sighted. And it's also never too late for you to fall into this trap because you think you have. I've been long-sighted all my life and I've been so good and blah, blah, blah. Now it's not time to party and be short-sighted. You're still going to fall into these traps. And this is not where a life that feels fulfilling, aligned, joyful, rich, rewarding, connecting, it's not found in the short-sighted temptations. But a lot of us have to learn the hard way. So really, no judgment here. Like I said, just to remind you how I started off our little chat here this morning. I'm still climbing my way out. And I'm having to remind myself to be patient. It takes a long time and a lot of practice, a lot of time, a lot of experiences for my brain. And maybe I'm just a slow learner too, but I'll get there. We all go at our own pace for our own reasons and for our own learning. Yeah, some of us are more knuckleheaded than others. And anyway, so I'm learning and I'm doing and I'm experiencing and I'm enjoying and I'm being challenged and stretched and grown. And but it is possible to go from the why put off till what did I say? Now I'm confused. confused myself. So the saying is for the wise, why put off till tomorrow what you can do today? And the other ones, well, why do today what you can put off till tomorrow? There, I've got it. I had to reset myself. So I have switched that back around to the way of the short-sighted fool to the more wise. And again, just that driver, that analogy driver. And if you've never heard of the concept of a dry drunk, and maybe you've even listened to me and talk more than once, and you've heard me talk about my own journey with kicking, my nightly wine habit to the curb and doing the work to figure out what was going on underneath that had me doing that. Otherwise, then I run the risk of just becoming a cookieaholic or anything that you're overdoing. That's a drunken state of mind. You're a dry drunk. Sorry to tell it to you. Even if you never drink a drop of alcohol or you're the one that doesn't. This isn't about alcohol. Drunkenness is a state of mind. And it's an attitude and a way of approaching life that is short-sighted. You're only focused on what's right in front of you. And that causes accidents all over the place. And even in their list of 7 things, you're the person that maybe is causing the discord in the family. Okay, I've yammered enough today. You can tell this one hit close to home for me. All right, go rise and shine, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.